What's up, family? So, what in the world is going on right now? Seriously, I never thought I'd have to say this out loud in 2025. And I know we got 6 months left in the year, and we almost do with the year, but we officially crossed the moral line. A tragic flood swept through a Christian summer camp in Texas. I'm sure you guys know. Kids are dead, families are broken, first responders are digging through mud and wreckage, searching for bodies. And instead of mourning, instead of uniting, what's the reaction? You got people out here celebrating, literally cheering on the fact that kids, and this more be more specific, is a certain demographic that was in this tragedy, which were white kids, that these individuals are speaking on, cheering and celebrating this tragedy. And my heart goes out to the family. And this is just a reminder, family, that you don't take no day for granted every time you wake up, because you never know. We don't know our expiration date. But not to get off the rails, saying things like, "Oh well, they're rich white girls," quote unquote. Who cares? And I'm sitting here thinking, how did we get this sick? But anyway, family, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Get this video a big thumbs up if you get some value from this video. Let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Let's get into the clip. This was wild.
More and more is going to keep coming out about this flood down in Texas where all these little girls were killed. It's Camp Mystic. It's the name of the camp. Been around for generations. And one thing about this camp that might make a difference in how all this is handled is that it's a camp for rich kids. Yeah, these were kids from wealthy families. These are wealthy white kids, and their parents paid almost $5,000 for their kids to go to sessions at this camp. And as awful as it sounds, me and you both know, well, it'll get more attention than if this was a bunch of poor kids. And the weather service said like 3 to 6 inches of rain, ended up being 12. The river came up really quickly. The weather service wasn't getting the information out as they should. There's no sirens in that area to warn people that the river's coming up. Should the camp directors have heeded the original warnings and moved the kids up? The kids that were washed away were the younger of the fellows, and their cabins were right next to the river. Well, the other campers, the older ones, are up on the hill, and they're fine. So maybe they should have taken the initiative and moved those little guys up to the top of the hill for the night. But hindsight's 2020. The fact is, a lot of little kids have lost their lives in this flood, and it's a preventable tragedy. You know, it's just a shame. So will we hear more from these parents? Probably, probably. Money gets attention. We all know it's true. And these were wealthy children. Yeah. Just tragic. This little guys. This little fellas.
Look, listen, I don't care if they were rich, poor, white, black, blue, green. It doesn't matter. They were children. And I feel like children are the most purest thing on earth. They're the most purest, angelic individuals on earth, man. They're pure as pure. It can't get no purer than that when it comes to a child. And if your first reactions to a child's death is political commentary and the TikTok theatrics, and you're not the revolutionary you think you are. You are just lost. Because let me tell you something. This ain't justice. This ain't equity. This is evil dressed up in hashtags and fake virtue. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really look at what went down, and now that I preface the conversation, there's just summer camp in East Texas, Camp Mystic. Flash flood came in, not 3 inches of rain like the weather service warned. Nah, it was 12 inches. The river jumped its banks fast, and the camp, especially the lower cabins, got slammed. Now, here's the deal. The younger kids were sleeping in the cabins right near the river. The older campers were uphill. Guess who got washed away? I mean, the children, exactly. And we got to be honest here. Should the camp leaders have moved the kids uphill for the night? Maybe. I'm just being very objective here. I don't have all the details, but I do know in hindsight, it's 2020. Still, that doesn't change the fact that this was um this was unfortunate. This was out of individuals' control. And I was always taught where, and I have learned that life is about 90% of how you respond to it and 10% of what happens to you. Look, kids died, families will never be the same. And this should have been the story. This should have been where our attention stayed. But no, the social media outrage machine had other plans. And what does financials or finances or someone's financial situation have to do with their life being lost? I just can't equate the both when unfortunately this was an unfortunate tragedy that happened and you should just hone in on that. And if anything, let it be a reminder, like I said, that don't take life for granted. Love on your loved ones, love on those who love you. Your family is the individuals who going in the direction that you're going in, rocking with you, meaning y'all working, y'all are operating in unison, uplifting to each other, pouring into each other, having each other best interests. So, man. But I want to go to another clip in regards of the situation because this is another individual who it was just mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing to me because when you think about it, the same playbook we always see when tragedy hits. The TikTok philosophers, the Twitter prophets, and the Instagram revolutionaries crawling out from under the digital rocks to do what they do best. Make everything about race, class, and politics. And people started saying, like you seen in the last clip, these were rich white girls, so of course the media cares. As if wealth or whiteness determines the value of a child's life. And like seriously, what kind of broken spirit must you have seen a flood or wipe out innocent kids and your first instinct is to measure how privileged they are? If anything, it's a blessing that at least the parents weren't ignorant enough. Let's take a step further and not bringing a kid into this world who didn't have control to be brought into this world with lack of resources. So they have resources. That's a beautiful thing. But their life being lost, unfortunately, now they wouldn't be able to explore the resources and find themselves as we all just trying to figure it out because now their life is lost due to an unfortunate tragedy, which I understand as a parent. I know, and for the parents out there, whoever may watch this from their kid being taken from this unfortunate tragedy, my heart goes out to you. But don't be hard on yourselves because I can imagine how much these parents are beating themselves up for something they couldn't control, thinking of, oh, what if I didn't just send them for the day? Or what if I didn't send them to the camp? And that's usually what they call that survivor's remorse. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. We just having a conversation, but it's just mind blowing to me because you know what's even crazier? Some people even went viral, literally saying, "I'm not sad. Nope, not one bit." Like one woman um, who proudly identifies as an ex-felon and radical, got on TikTok and said white people need to die so others will start to care about racism, which is this clip I'm about to show you right now. But it's like, what? What Bible are you reading? What morality is this? What are you reading that's really making your mind be so sickened to the point where you have an unhumane approach and just any appreciation for humanity while just being where's the overall sentiment to care just about human life, period, in general? Cold hearted, cold blooded. I mean, if the devil had a TikTok, it would sound a lot like this. Check it out.
Little girls, no people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a fuck. And am I sad? No. Nope, 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 nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for motherfuckers to what? CARE. I said what the fuck I said. I don't give a fuck, and minds are here with me.
This is crazy. That is crazy, family. So this was the woman who said that, um, man, and let's just call it out what it is. This isn't progressivism. This is hate with lipstick on it. They say racism won't win while spewing the most racist garbage you have ever heard. They claim they're fighting for justice, but they're literally celebrating death of kids because the color of their skin. You know how twisted you have to be to see a natural disaster and turn it into a race war, to look at floodwaters and say, "Yep, that's karma for voting red." Oh, that's karma for being a certain demographic of a skin color. I don't care who you voted for, Republican, Democrat, Independent, no party at all. I don't care what race you are. When kids die, That ain't no politics. This ain't no time for no politic theater. This ain't no time to be a clown. This individual, if you want to be a clown, go be a part of the surface. But this is humanity. That's a moment to put your sword, to put down your sword and grieve. But we can't even do that more. Why? No more. Why? Because everything's tribal now. Everything has to fit a narrative. If it was a camp full of, okay, hypothetically, she looks Hispanic. I don't know. I'm just objectively just going off. This is just my thoughts, right? She looks Hispanic, right? If it was a Hispanic or take it for my skin color, a black kid, some would say it wouldn't get coverage, right? Maybe, maybe not. But here's the thought. Maybe we shouldn't measure tragedy by media metrics. Maybe we should mourn based on the loss of life, period. You ever thought of that? So it's mind blowing to me. And now a lot of folks in the faith community, because the faith community have been sounding an alarm, saying I'm right here with them because this is what spiritual decay looks like. This is what happens when people harden their hearts and reject truth. The Bible says, "Love your enemies, pray for those who prosecute you." But in 2025, we're watching people pop popcorn while kids drown as long as they're the right skin tone. We got activists praying for more deaths. Meanwhile, their Instagram bios messing around saying faith, love, and justice. The irony of that. And I don't even get me started on these so-called professionals, right? There was an actual, and we're gonna get into it right now with the second clip, the last clip I want to show you guys. There was an actual pediatrician, right, who posted online saying MAGA, make America great again. That was Trump's mantra for his whole campaign run to get elected. Voters got what they deserved, right? So this is the political theater I'm talking about. A doctor, someone who takes care of children. I don't care what politics you are, but when is the point where you turn off your own ideologies and just do your job and do something that's, because to be honest, a doctor is more than a job. You're a public servant. You're taking care of the sick. You're helping kids who are the purest things and the most beautiful things on earth. Children. So now your ideologies is overtaking you to the simple fact that you can't even be humane enough in a profession where you should have your humane approach, where it's a selfless approach because you're caring. You're taking care of other people, family members, and loving on them through an action of through the message of love, because your love is action in this case, because your profession is a doctor, because you're taking care of the sick. And obviously you have to love what you do and be passionate enough to take care of the most purest individuals on earth, which are children or just anybody. It doesn't matter, just being in the healthcare field, period. So if you could celebrate the death of kids because of how their parents vote, you shouldn't be allowed to be nowhere near a stethoscope. That's in my opinion. Let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. But let's check out the clip, man, because this is wild.
Folks, unfortunately, this has become the sort of disgusting behavior that I've come to expect from those who consider themselves as quote unquote liberals and progressives. Look at this right here. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voters to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. This is a message that was posted by a pediatrician. Yeah. She is responsible for saving the lives of children, and yet that is what is in her heart. Now, fortunately, we have, I guess, the law of FAFO that is indeed kicked in, and she has lost her job, at least at her hospital. And I would hope that her medical license is at least in question. Because how are we supposed to trust that a woman like this, who holds these sorts of sentiments, are going to take care of our children when these sort of disasters take place?
With the right mindset, too.
Where countless kids are currently missing, others have already been pronounced dead, and at least 51 people are deceased. This is the devil's work.
And this is where it goes, even if you're not spiritual or not. The thing is, family, how more emotionally invested you can be into something, to the simple fact that you can't even be objective enough to turn your feelings off and do acts of service by caring for another human being. That's the most beautiful thing ever. That's the beauty of your profession, right? Taking care, curing. You learned all this in medical school. You did interns, but your beliefs got so you got so invested in your beliefs that you can't even distinguish the two. Leave that stuff at home. If you believe that, which is a sickening belief, don't get me wrong, it's very unhumane, but that's the beauty of America. You have the freedom to think and do what you want to do when you want to do it responsibly and legally, but don't bring that to where you taking care of people. Right? If that's what you want to discuss within your own dining room table and private discussion with your on your own time, but those ideologies you got to turn them off and know how to distinguish that, right? Because whatever ideologies you have, and the ideology she have is just sickening, in my opinion. It's just unhumane. But yo, this is deeper than politics. Your political belief got that deep. You're deep invested in politics where you didn't know how to turn it off and it took over your profession. This is spiritual, and if you're not spiritual, it's still, meditation. You have to make sure this is why you have to make sure your mind, body, and spirit is right. You have to mentally be in the right space and you have to carve out time for yourself to make sure that, you know, you are able to effectively be present at your job, with your family, with your loved ones, spending time with yourself, learning yourself, discovering yourself. That's a constant that's a constant commitment until you're no longer here. This is moral. The hate we're seeing is grassroots activism, it's rot, it's bitterness with a spotlight, it's people who haven't healed from their own trauma turning into monsters online. And you know what's wild? Some people would say, um, these are the same people who would say white people are evil, quote unquote. Right? But the thing is, you live with you live with them, you sleep with them, you marry them, and how you gonna say the white man, the white woman, the black, whatever race is the devil, but then go home to one? It's not about race, it's about pain, is my point, family. Unhealed, bitter, repackaged as justice. It's taking accountability. Right? Just because you had a bad experience with someone doesn't mean you treat everyone as a monolith. And just because it happened to be someone that's a certain skin color doesn't mean you sit there and you be full of hate and evil to that certain demographic. It just come down to character. And everybody, you have to know, aren't going to have the same mindset, beliefs, and operate the same way you do. That's the beauty of them uniquely being themselves. But at the end of the day, you have to know how to be distinguished and be wise enough to revolve yourself around. Right? So what I'm saying is, family, going back to this doctor, how could you sit there and say that's what MAGA or Trump supporters get for individuals who've died in a flood, children, which was out of their control, natural disasters, families lost, and then turn around and say, you know what? That's what these supporters get. These certain people, because you have an evil or you don't like Trump or whatever, you got so deeply invested where you still going to work and still taking care of children. How can you be in the right mind frame? Right? So let's not forget the real heroes and victims here, man. The parents who will never hug their babies again. The first responders, some of who found multiple bodies of children and now have to go home to their own kids haunted by what they seen. Right? And let's talk about the wives and husbands of those first responders who are holding their significant others down, right? Through all of this, right? Through all this and being heroic as they are. But none of that matters to the internet, right? Because it's all about algorithm now, the shock value, the look how woke I am content that gets millions of views, but zero empathy. But I'm gonna leave it there, family. It's just mind blowing to me how far individuals are. But shout out to the first responders on the ground, man. Shout out to them. And let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. On this note, family, I'm out. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate. I'm gone.